guys, welcome back to another episode of SoCal Watch Reviews. In today's episode, we got a very special guest. We got Fred once more from Shah Lusso. Fred, how you doing?
I'm good. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you back, my friend. And also, of course, my co-host, P. P, how you feeling?
Yo, what's good? What's good? It's your boy P. Rouse back in the building, bringing that flavor like a pack of now laters, all right? What's good, Fred?
I'm good. Good to finally meet the famous Pete. You know, been hearing the work that you've been doing with Miguel over the last few podcasts. So it's good to sort of now get a three-way discussion going on.
Right
so I'm
on.
excited.
Right
and
on.
Congratulations, Miguel, on episode 10, man.
Yeah, it's been a ride. It's been a ride. I started this whole thing thinking that I was just maybe going to test out the waters and do it alone. And of course, along the way, as I spoke to different people and connected with different people, I just kind of really had the realization that I needed a co-host. That's when I invited P, and I'm super excited that we made it all the way to episode 10. It's definitely, I don't know, overwhelming, I guess. It's an overwhelming feeling of success in my own personal ride. I know that we don't get a ton of listeners yet, but the momentum is greatly building out, especially as I'm reaching out to different people and they're actually accepting my invitation, such as yourself. This is the second time you are here, so we do appreciate it. You could have easily said that you were busy, but you're taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. So thanks, man. Anything interesting been happening since our last episode?
Quite a few things. Well, I mean, obviously, we've got the news that we have a new world record holder for most expensive watch sold at auction with the Patek Philippe Grandmaster Chime, the only watch.
It was the Invicto, right, that sold that. No,
wow.
No, Invicto was the close number 2. It's common misconception.
Woo.
Sorry, P.
That's cool. Hey, that's fine, man. The shade is real.
You know, I gotta say that Patek Philippe, for me, that case is it just doesn't speak to me, and those integrated lugs or whatever, however it looks with the lugs and the leather band, it just doesn't do it for me. But that salmon dial, oh my goodness, it's beautiful. That's about it.
For me, it's the exact opposite. I love the look of the integrated lugs.
Really,
the case is definitely way too thick, but I've never been a fan of salmon dials. So for me, it's actually the case shape does more for me. But I guess each their own. But it's still an impressive watch, to say the least.
It's pretty insane.
It's definitely impressive for 31 million francs. I'm sorry, 31 million francs. I think that's like still over like 31
it's
million
about
US.
The same.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely impressive. You know, and I understand it's for charity. I get that. You know what I mean? I'm all for that, actually. But as a one-for-one piece, it's definitely a serious flex piece. So whatever you have in your collection right now at this moment, yeah, you can flex. But if you got this piece, you could definitely flex. And I want to ask y'all, is this a piece that y'all would actually wear if y'all had
it? If I had it?
Yeah.
I probably would, but that's purely because I only get watch attention of wearing them. I'm not like one of those people who thinks like, all right, I'll get a nice watch, but I'll keep it in the drawer, keep it in the watch box just to look at it. If I was to get it, I would wear it. Okay. Between not having 31 million in my pocket and not being 100% crazy for it personally, then obviously I wouldn't be getting it. I would wear it.
I think I would wear it too.
I think for me, I wouldn't wear it on the daily or very regularly, but I would wear it at special occasions. Like I would love to show up to like think about it. If you own this piece, right, you could literally show up to be a nobody and show up to the Houdinki office and you would get treated like a rock star. Oh, here comes the guy that bought that watch, you know? Now that would only happen in the watch circles. Anywhere else, people would think you're stupid for spending that much money. But to P's point, if this watch sold outside of charity, I don't necessarily think it would have picked up that much money. I'm pretty sure it was one of the guys that was probably tied into the whole charity or with these people. I mean, that's crazy amounts of money, you know, $31 million, especially for a steel watch. It's not even a precious metal. It's kind of crazy. It does have the 20 complications, which is awesome, but
I mean,
I
but you
don't
got to
know.
consider that. Look at how crazy the prices of like anything that has the wording "Steel Patek" sells for like double its regular price. Factor in
Mm.
that the watch
It's
itself,
weird.
it's one of one. It's a piece unique. It has, I think, 20 complications in it. It's like as Patek can get, save for the fact that it's not in precious metal. Like there is a lot of writing on the wall that would lead you to believe that it could go for that much, charity or not. You know, like I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people would have probably bought into thinking that, this would be the next big thing. And since everyone's already crazy about steel protects, it's like so I have a feeling that probably played into it as to why it kept going up.
So the watch before this was what you said, the Paul Newman Daytona, and that
Yeah,
went
yeah.
for
As a
what, like,
wristwatch,
yeah,
as a
and that went
wristwatch, it was the Paul Newman. That was 17 million, I think.
17 million. Okay, in
But bef-
2017.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
okay.
but before that, it was a Patek, right? But it was like it wasn't a wristwatch. It was like a pocket watch, I
Yeah,
think.
there's a pocket watch that
Right.
went for 20 something million if I remember right.
Hmm.
But the last wristwatch was the Newman.
Mm.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, not for me, and I guess not for you guys. And it's a lot of money, but think about who bought it. I mean, if a billionaire bought it, that's pocket change for him. 31 million is definitely a great investment. Guarantee this thing is gonna go up in value. And another crazy piece for me was that Tudor. I mean, I'm like, what the heck, three hundred
Yeah,
fifty
350,000.
thousand?
Mm.
Jeez, for a Tudor, like. And then I don't know if you guys saw that Jorn, FP Jorn. Oh my goodness, that is a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. I love FP Jorn. If I ever had the money, that'd be one of the flex pieces I would get right there. So,
Mm.
Yeah.
but
Though the Jordan didn't surprise me as much purely because Jordan has a very like fervent following and it's not like the normal ones are cheap to start out with.
yeah,
Like I was looking through the results and it's crazy just seeing sort of how the markup versus like a regular version of it.
hmm
It tells you a lot about like the brand and how it's perceived. Even getting back to that Tudor, when you consider a regular Black Bay at retail is what, maybe 3,500, 4,000
right.
bucks, and this went for pretty much 100 times that.
Mm.
That tells you a lot about the weight that it brings, and also obviously because Rolex didn't have a presence, so this was as close to a Rolex presence as you had at Only Watch.
Mm.
Now I heard something interesting also in one of the podcasts, and they were basically saying that the reason why maybe a Rolex didn't join this charity is because everybody kind of knew Patek was going to be the watch, because in every charity in the past they've taken the number one spot, and Rolex does not want to be number two. So that was a lot of talk that's why they did not join this auction, because they already knew they were going to be number two, and they probably would. They're right, I mean, this would have like completely dwarfed them, to say, oh, a watch sold for this much money and the Rolex only sold for this much. So I think
I
it's an
think,
ego thing.
and also they stood to benefit more from putting a Tudor there. I mean, at the end of the day, Rolex doesn't really need any more marketing; it kind of sells itself. So putting a Tudor there, having a multiplier like that, I think it still would. They serve more benefit with Tudor than, like you said, the risk of maybe coming in as number two.
So
Mm. So was the Tudor the second highest price watch that sold?
no,
No, no, no. But it
Okay.
just
no.
had it. It was just a very impressive showing.
Okay.
I think because there was an 1159 that I think went for about 1 million, and then I have to look at the sheet again. But I know there were a couple others that went for a fair bit. But like there was a
Mm.
big gap between what number two would have been
Okay.
and the Patek.
Mm.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Jordan sold for 1.8 million Swiss francs, and it
Yeah.
was estimated that it was going to go between 300 and 600,000. So it completely went above and beyond that. So, but speaking of prices, we were talking about money and everything today. What we oh, that's cool. I don't know who has that watch, but that was a cool little alarm. For everybody listening at 7 o'clock, maybe we should do that. Everybody listening at 7 o'clock my time, West Coast, California. What about you guys?
It
uh,
is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time where I'm at.
and
Ohio.
for me, is 8:30 in the evening, Indian Standard Time. I'm in India right now, so
Mm.
it's nighttime for me while y'all are there. Y'all are all in the morning.
While we're
Oh
waking
wow.
up and cleaning off the eye boogers. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So next, wristwatch. Wristwatch check. What are you guys wearing?
Right now I got on the Timex. It's the retro '80s. It's kind of
Oh, very nice.
it looks like the recent one that they just came out with,
The
but the
Pac-Man?
gold. It looks like the Pac-Man, yeah, but
That's
it's silver
cool.
tone. So
So that was you
yeah,
with the alarm, fair to say?
Yeah, yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
all right. Fred?
Yes, sir.
I have got my Omega Seamaster second generation, so pre-waved out, but with the ceramic bezel. And I've got on
Mm,
a leather strap right now. It's starting to get a little colder here, so can finally put it back on the leather strap after so long of being on needles in the bracelet.
right on.
Nice. How do you before I do my wristwatch check, how do you come back to people or haters that say that dive watches should not be on a leather strap?
They should see this on a leather strap to start out with. Because for real, like I think it's very subjective because the Seamaster, like there's a reason why it fits well on James Bond's wrist and why he wears it with a suit and everything. It's because it has a dressier quality when you compare it to something like a Submariner, which has those like thicker, more utilitarian lugs. Like Submariner looks more like a tool watch. The 300 from the beginning, it looked dressier than a lot of other divers. So I think it pulls it off well. It's not too thick as well, so like it wears it well and just gives it a different character. I love it. If people don't like it, that's their problem,
I,
and that's
I
their
know.
prerogative.
I know one thing I'm learning is that a lot of watches look good on a leather strap. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I wasn't really too much into that at first, but like I'm learning that a lot of stuff looks great on a leather strap. So
yeah, and there's
Yeah.
so much. There's so much to leather straps as well. Like there's different finishes, different grains, colors. I think a lot of it's about getting the right strap for the right watch.
Yeah, well, for me, as far as the whole leather strap and dive watch, obviously I know that a lot of people think it's full paw, right? Like, oh, you shouldn't do that. But again, you shouldn't wear a watch with a suit, or you should. There's just no rules that apply to this whole watch collecting. If you like something, you do it, and you do whatever you want. And to those purists that say that dive watch should not be on a leather strap, I would like to speak to him and say, well, do you go diving with this watch? Because clearly, at the end of the day, you don't want to put a leather strap on it because it's going to get messed up with water. I get that, but are you going to take this watch desk diving or actually diving? And it's just these people just have nothing better to do, to be honest with you. And I mean, we could do a whole episode about haters and this and that, and they like to criticize, and it's just awful. It's just awful. But let me tie back. We were talking about money. We were talking about investing and all the money that kind of went into this charity. Today, we're actually going to discuss grill
you didn't do your
watches.
wristwatch check.
Yeah,
Oh
what are you wearing,
crap!
man?
Nothing. No, I'm just kidding.
You're talking about faux pas. That's a faux pas right
Uh,
there.
well, thank you for listening, guys. You can find me on so. No, today what am I wearing? Well, I have a desk. I have a watch on my desk, which is the Omega Speedmaster. I just kind of I forgot to put it away, so it's sitting here. But on my wrist is just the guy that I've been wearing every day. Seiko Sarb 033. It's just crazy. I
Nice,
just wear it all the
nice.
time.
Classic.
Yeah, it's just so reliable. It's just it goes with everything. I could throw shorts. I could have jeans. I could dress nice. It goes with everything. Obviously, I would like a little more expensive of a watch on my wrist, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. But yeah, no, for me, this watch just doesn't get old. It doesn't get boring. I love winding it. I like taking it off and looking at the display case back. I know it's not finished to the standards of a lot of these Swiss watches, but nonetheless, it's a mechanical watch, and it's really really cool and charming to look at. And not only that, but something that maybe this is just for me, but something that's really cool for me. My 4-year old, he loves putting this watch on his ear, and he goes tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, and then he likes winding it, and he likes a little. So it's just like this warm feeling that I get, like, oh man, this is the next generation right here. Like my dad never did that for me, or anything else aside from talking about the Bible, which is nothing wrong with that. And obviously, that kind of it's a different conversation there. But yeah, showing this passion with my son, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this can relate if you have children that you want to share the passion with your offspring. So, but anyways, I digress. We were speaking about money. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about grail pieces. We're each going to kind of talk about what we really want in our collection. And then at the end, we are going to talk about how to attain those grail pieces. What do you do? What do you save? How do you save the money? How do you get the money? So, quick disclaimer for everybody listening, we are not financial planners. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know if Fred is or P is,
Mm-mm.
but this is just our opinion. So don't kill us for this. If you follow what we are advising and you lose all your money, don't come back and write a nasty email or a nasty comment. So yeah, guys, I don't know. Fred, you're a guest. You want to start us off with the grill pieces? Fred? All right, not sure what's going on with Fred there. P, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Well, let's start off with you. Hopefully, Fred comes
Okay.
back on the line here. But let's
Yeah.
start off with your grill pieces. What's going
Okay.
on? What do
So
you got
so
there?
so we're going affordable first, right?
Whatever you want,
Correct.
right? Whatever
Okay.
your grill pieces are.
Okay. Check this out. I'm a big Miles Davis fan. So Miles Davis wore a Breitling Navitimer, right?
Mhm.
So there's a new Breitling Navitimer out. It's the Automatic 41, um, a brand new take on the Navitimer, and the cost of this is $4,310.
That's not bad.
Which for me, if I want it right now, I can actually get that. But it's not something that's in my budget. But if I really wanted it, I would get it. I could get it.
So it would be fair to say, and I think I understand what you were talking about, affordable versus not affordable.
Right.
For everybody listening, I guess before the podcast, we all connected and we said, okay, why don't we talk about kind of an attainable piece and then unobtainable piece? So two types of grails. So that's what
Right.
P's referring to, more of an
Right.
attainable piece. That's a
Right.
very nice watch. So is it just
Yeah.
because of the artist that you wanted? Is it more of that connection or?
Well, it's more than that. The blue dial and the blue leather strap on this piece is outstanding. It has the caliber Breitling 17, self-winding mechanical movement, power reserve 38 hours, 28,800 vibrations per hour, Joule 25 calendar. It has a dial aperture. You know what I mean? The case is steel and gold, I think. Case back screw in. And the only thing really disappointing, it has 3 bars of water
Oh,
resistance. You know what I mean?
wow.
The
Hey,
bezel is
Fred.
by.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to ask if Fred was back.
Okay. Um,
Fred?
the bezel is Frester.
I guess he's not back, man. I don't. To everybody listening, I don't know what happened to Fred. But sorry for interrupting you. Go
Okay.
on. So,
The bezel is bidirectional. Um, and that's really it. But if I wanted to do something a little cheaper, I could get a vintage Breitling, the A41330 for 2,700. You know what I mean? So that would be like my affordable pieces. You know what I mean? So, but hello,
Hello?
yeah.
Fred. Fred is
Yes,
back.
I'm back. Sorry about.
No
Yeah.
worries. P was. We could hear you. We could hear you. Fred was actually just starting us off with his girl pieces. Not sure if you heard what he had to say, but
I could briefly go back through it. The Breitling Navitimer 41, um, with the caliber Breitling 17, self-winding mechanical movement. And if I wanted to go vintage, well, that piece there costs $4,310. But if I wanted to go vintage and use, I would go with the Breitling Mont Brilliant A41330, retailing at $2,700. So that would
how
be like,
much? So how much are the vintage Navatimers versus the one that you want?
oh, it's about a $2,000 difference.
Oh, okay.
You know what I
So it's
mean?
so it's pretty affordable then. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not nothing
yeah,
crazy.
right,
Now, so those are your attainable kind of grails. What about
right.
something a little bit more?
Uh, the Rolex GMT Master 2 Batman.
Mm,
With
You know
hmm.
what I mean?
beer with oyster.
The Batman or the Batgirl?
With the oyster and the
Very
folding
Mm,
nice.
buckle. You know what I mean?
it's a very nice watch.
Yes. 40 millimeters stainless steel. That would be like, I guess I could get, if I, uh, my wife would kill me if I did that, but if I, I could technically I could really get it if I really, really wanted it, but I couldn't do it right now. But I could do it. Yes, I could. But
You drain the savings account, and your wife wouldn't be very happy.
right, so yeah, that would be like something long term that I think that I would want to get and save for. And as far as saving for it, I mean, I guess there's several ways you could go about that. I really don't like doing things on credit. I usually use credit for emergencies. You know what I mean? But if I wanted to, I could, I guess. But I would actually have to save for this one. I mean, I guess saving depends on the person and how much you make and how much you're willing to put away and what you're willing to sacrifice. So,
Yeah.
So,
Very cool. I like your picks. Very, you didn't stick to one brand. Spoiler alert. That's kind of what I have coming, but that's cool. Fred, what do you got?
So for me, when it comes to grail pieces, I've recently discovered that I look at every watch that I want to buy as a grail piece because I want to get it and not sell it. If y'all seen my last video, I recently made that mistake of getting a watch with the intention of selling and just losing money on it. So if I had to describe, I guess what my least attainable grail piece would be, for me, the least attainable, but the one I really, really want is the Vacheron Constantin Overseas Dual Time. Ooh. That for me is just it's the ultimate in the most versatile watch. It's got 2 time zones, the interchangeable straps. It looks good on all of them. 150 meters water resistance, Geneva seal. It's got everything. But at 23 grand, it's going to take me quite some time to get it. I think I will get it eventually, but it'll take me time to get up to that.
Yeah.
So
don't Vacheron have the watch with the most complications in the world right now?
I don't know if it's the one with the most complications, but I know they did just win an award at the GPHG for it was this perpetual calendar that had 2 different beat rates. You can set it to sort of a standby mode, because obviously with a perpetual calendar, setting it is a pain in the ass if it runs out. So you can actually switch it to sort of this low beat rate. It's something crazy. It's I think 4,000 vibrations or something super slow.
Wow.
Just so that it can keep the time and keep the date and everything in check. And then when you're ready to use it and wind it up, then you can switch it up to the normal one. So
that's crazy. Do you know what it increases the power reserve to? If you do,
it's 70 days or something like that. I have to check the numbers, but it's an insane watch. I love what Vacheron does. I feel of the big 3, Vacheron, Patek, and Audemars, I feel Vacheron is the one that sort of experiments the most and sort of has the most fun, because they're not really tied into an icon like Patek and Audemars are. So because they're not number one, it means they kind of have to experiment a little bit more, and I love that about them. You look at their range, it's so varied, but you don't really suffer on quality either. And I like that it's sort of the underdog of the 3. So that would probably be my least attainable grail piece. Getting a bit closer to reality, lately I've been really obsessed with the Speedmaster Broad Arrow in rose gold and stainless steel. So it's from about 2007, 2008. Really, really nice. It's got the case of the normal moon watch, but it's got the precious metal in there, and it's got this beautiful chocolate sunburst dial. I think it really looks sick, and that's a little bit more attainable. That's around sort of $6,000 or $7,000 up to about $9,000 depending on quality.
What kind of movement does it have in it? Does it have the manual winding?
No, it's an automatic. It's I think Omega calls it the 3300 or something like that. I think it's loosely based on the Frederic Piguet 1185, but they've put in their coaxial. They Omega-fied it, for lack of a better term. But yeah, it's not the 1861. It's not the manual wind, so it's also a little bit more useful, a little bit thicker because it's an automatic. But that's one that I've had my eye on lately. That hopefully will be maybe my next purchase.
Yo,
but it'll still be some time till I get that.
Kind of off subject. What did you think about the latest James Bond Omega release?
The
Seamaster.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service one.
Yeah.
As a watch, I thought it was actually really cool. I just didn't understand why they released it. Like, like I have a theory. And if you'll bear with me for a second. So,
Sure.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service was not a particularly important James Bond movie. It wasn't like iconic
Right.
like Goldfinger. It wasn't just sort of, another one in the pack. It was the only one with George Lazenby, but again, he's like not the most known James Bond.
Right.
So it seems sort of just random that they would just release a movie commemorating this. But if you look at the production of the Bond 25, the new Bond that's coming out, No Time to Die, I think it's called. I think that was supposed to come out this year, but they postponed it because of all like the production issues. I think it's coming out next year. And I feel like they just had on their roster, we have to do a Bond watch this year. And since they didn't have the new movie to make it for, they're like, all right, find something in the back catalog, find something to commemorate, so we can have anything together to capitalize on this Bond association. But the watch itself, I think, is cool. I like how they did the golden hands on it, the design on the back with the coat of arms. Obviously, like that's a callback to what happened in the movie. Though his whole sort of cover was that he was a genealogist and was like providing background on Blofeld's family history. So he did his own genealogy. But it's got a lot of cool touches. They have that. They have the little secret signature 50 when you shine the lume.
Uh-huh.
That's something that'd be cool to see if they start incorporating that in general. And there's sort of like a security feature, have some sort of like maybe just the Omega symbol on the lume or something like that. Yeah, like as a watch on its own, I think it's really cool. The 300 that's based on is really, really good as well. But I just didn't understand the point in making a special edition commemorating a sort of relatively unknown Bond movie.
Right. I dig that. For sure.
Yeah, so that's a great perspective. Sounds like you actually watched the Bond film, because everything you're saying right now just kind of went over my head. I've never. I'll gotta confess something. I've never in my life seen a whole entire James Bond film. I've seen bits and pieces, but I never actually watched the whole thing. It just doesn't. It's just never really spoken to me for whatever reason. Now we're talking Fast and the Furious. I've seen every single one of them multiple times, and that's because I'm a car guy, so I know all about that. But,
but which one is your favorite out of them?
Oh man, honestly, the first one. It's just a classic.
That's the answer
first
I was looking for.
I
the first
would
one never gets old.
I would definitely have to go with the first one for sure.
It's just a classic. It's just a classic. It introduced us to the whole scene. Or I mean, majority of the people as a whole. I remember when it first came out. I mean, I was a little younger. I was like barely 18, kind of getting out of high school or something around there. So I was kind of looking for my first car, and so a few of my friends were getting into car racing here in Southern California. So when that movie came out, it just spoke to me so much, because a lot of the things that happened in the movie happened here in Southern California. So I was very familiar with like Long Beach, and when they went to Santa Monica, I'm like, oh crap, I know that place. I've driven through there. I know exactly what they're doing. So it spoke to me on a different level that I'm sure it speaks to a lot of people. So it was just so cool. And thanks to that's why I got my little first Honda CRX and started modifying it. And then the second and the third and the fourth. And I got really heavy into modifying cars because of that movie. But the funny thing about that movie is that when it first came out, a lot of the people in the racing scene would actually make fun of that movie and say, oh, what are you trying to be, Fast and the Furious? And they really hated that movie. I don't know, Fred, I don't know if you... It sounds like you heard the same thing, but for whatever reason, more movies started coming out, because the second one was garbage, right? With the Pink S2000 or whatever, and it was just it went the wrong direction. But that they kind of brought it back, and it just really became something. And then unfortunately, with Paul Walker's passing and everything, it just now the whole world was kind of watching. And then of course now with The Rock and Statham and everything, it just became a completely different thing, which I don't know if I like it. I think it's just, I don't know, it's just a money grab. Well, at this point they've made 10, 9, I don't even know, I lost count.
It's crazy. A few of them.
Yeah, more than a few. But Fred, so you're talking about grails. You want to talk about how to get them, or do you want me to go next and then you want to discuss the whole financial aspect?
Well, when it comes to getting them, like for the most part, like I'm very similar to Pete. I don't really like putting stuff on credit, especially what I would classify in the nicest way as saying stupid stuff. Like this is stuff that I don't really need. So like when it comes to stuff like that, I definitely don't want to indebt myself, and because I don't look at watches as investments or anything, it's like I can't justify that in that sense. So for me, it's usually about saving, but always I try and, you know, I always try and have like a little side hustle here and there. Any sort of additional income or residual income I can get, I'll put that towards, towards covering a watch, because then that way I know my normal day-to-day income, that covers my expenses, all that. I can have any extra income to cover my fun, stupid stuff. So that's the main way, that, and also, like, just as I noted in my last video, focusing more on just like getting a watch just because you want it, avoiding the distractions of like scratching an itch on the way there. Because like the Vacheron, for example, that's a fair bit of money for me. So there's going to be a lot of itches on the road to that. So I think just sort of staying disciplined and focused and making sure that, you put aside whatever you can so you can build towards that big sort of finale, because it feels great when you get a watch that you really, really like. Like when I got my Seamaster, that's how I got into this. But I always loved that watch because of the James Bond association. Like for me, Pierce Brosnan was always my James Bond. So like as soon as I saw that Seamaster on his wrist, I was like, that's a cool watch. And then as I started researching and getting into it, I just sort of drew closer to it. So in a way, like my Omega was my first Grail watch. Now I just have to get all the other ones. So that's sort of, I guess, my approach to getting it, is my entire idea that every watch has to be a Grail watch in some way or another.
Yeah, very good, very good. I like
Pierce
that.
Bronson, correct me if I'm wrong, but View to a Kill was his first, right?
His first was GoldenEye. View
GoldenEye,
to a
okay.
Kill was...
Who was View to a Kill?
View to a Kill was Roger Moore, if I'm not mistaken. That was the one with Christopher Walken.
Okay.
Yeah, if I'm right. I think so.
Okay.
Now, when you first saw Pierce, you were how old, Fred? If you don't mind me asking.
So I saw it. I didn't see it in the cinema. I saw it on VHS. So would have been around 96. I was 5 years old.
Oh, okay. So definitely a Grail for you because you're a little kid when you kind of first saw him with that. So.
And then, like, I just sort of grew up, like, watching his Bond movies. Daniel Craig was always, like, sort of the second Bond for me, So, like, the one that sort of impacted the most. Like, I don't find myself craving a Planet Ocean, which has sort of become his signature Bond watch. So yeah, so, like, that sort of impacted me. And then I think from there, it's, like, always chasing that special feeling when I get a watch. So for that, you got to wait and save,
Yeah, no, very nice watches and different again. So for my picks, I mean, my thing is going to be very vanilla and very boring, and people are going to be like, seriously, Miguel, like, that's what you want. But this is the whole thing about watches. Any watch, whether it's something that's super popular or not popular, if it speaks to you and if it's your own Grail, then that's what it is, right? And this is the beauty of it, this hobby, that we all like different things. And I like Pete's picks and I like Fred's picks. Now, my picks, let me start off with the unattainable Grail, which is obviously an AP Royal Oak. I don't care what kind, as long as it's it could be gold, it could be white gold, it could be stainless steel. I don't care whatever the hell it is. Just something about that Royal Oak just really, really speaks to me. I just, for whatever reason, I'm not a fan of the all the complications. Right, I just like that simple design. So I do like the new one they came out with, a limited edition with the second repeater, and I think it's a Chime watch. I think it was like 20 pieces released. That was awesome. But I'm cool with just the regular Royal Oak. And as far as the dial color, just I got to go with the blue. The blues it just speaks to me so much. But again, what are those retail for? 20 something thousand? I don't even know.
At least. And those are boutique exclusive if you can get on the list. Otherwise, you're talking pre-owned, crazy bananas pricing. Like I don't even bother keeping up with it, with the AP and the Patek pricing, just because it's so far away from reality. That's like, I'm just surprised every time I hear it. I think the Nautilus is something like $2.5 retail or something crazy like that. No.
Yeah, I think so. Well, that's why I don't follow those things. And you, if you're listening, and anybody listening to this, you feel like you don't know references, or you feel like, oh, I'm not really into this whole watch thing. Believe me, none of us are into this watch thing 100% unless you're in the industry. And even if you're in the industry, you basically focus on maybe one brand or two brands. But it's kind of hard to believe unless you're like Tim Mosso or something, so a guy that's just like an encyclopedia, knows all the references, knows all the prices, knows what every watch, what complication they have. It's just too much information, and especially with the prices, they go up, they go down, they vary. It's too much, That's why, again, I don't really follow AP. I know that I like one of them. I would like to have one, but I have no clue what prices they have, or even the reference numbers, to be honest with you. Unless I was like really looking into buying one, I would do a lot of research. But I just know the Royal Oak, it looks awesome. The offshore looks like garbage to me, to be honest with you. It's just too big,
What?
too
I love the
complicated. I
offshore.
don't like it. I don't like it.
Mm.
It's just too complicated for me and too bulky. And it's coming from the same house. I get it. And I'm not talking about the quality build, or it's more from a design perspective. It's not really a Genta. It's a ripoff of the Genta, because they just told some designer, hey, that was so popular for us, do something different. So that's the way I feel about that. But don't hate me for it. That's
No,
just.
I don't hate for it. Like I definitely think I have some '90s bias for it, purely because I like the offshore more and I like the regular.
Are you
I like the
serious?
Aquanaut more than the Nautilus. Like, don't get me
What?
wrong, I don't want to take away from
Mm.
the originals and recognize that they definitely started, but just aesthetically, those do more for me. Like, that being said, I wouldn't actually want an offshore. I just think it looks cool. But they are a cool looking watch, and you'd be surprised. They look really bulky in pictures, but when you handle one in person, they actually fit a lot more snug than you would expect them to. When you look at them, they look ginormous, but they're actually like a lot more compact than you imagine when you look in pictures. They're not small, but they a lot of their bulk is sort of translated into pictures, whereas when you look at it, it just looks just right.
Yeah, I still don't like it. Well, it's like that AP. What is it? The AP Royal Oak concept is just. I don't
Oh,
like
that
it.
one I don't
I
understand.
don't
Mm.
like it.
I
I
just don't
don't like it.
understand it.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's my kind of unattainable piece, and then I have two more. So I have one that is kind of unattainable because it's pretty kind of expensive, and then the other one is more attainable, and I'm actually already saving towards that. So I don't know how long it's going to take me, but the more unattainable one is a Rolex Submariner. Now, this is
Mm.
from 1983. That was my birth year. It's the reference number 16800. So this is a transitional piece, meaning it has a tritium lume. It has a matte dial. They did use the movement, the 3035, which a lot of Rolex purists don't like it because they didn't stick purely to the Rolex Submariner with that movement. They actually used it in other watches. That's why I don't like it. But this was the first reference to actually introduce a sapphire crystal to the Submariner. So I think it's just incredible. I think it's awesome. Also, the 16800 is when they made it from, it went from 200 meters to 300 meters. Of course, it comes in an oyster bracelet, 40 millimeters, 20 millimeters strap, and it retails between 7 and 9. It all depends. Obviously, they're pre-owned, but something about that watch just speaks to me. The Submariner is like my all-time favorite watch. And I know as everybody has it, and it's boring, and people that are not even watch people own these watches. I get it, but I don't care. It's like that is the watch that always does it for me. And I've never, in previous episodes, I said I hate homage pieces. So I could very well get a ton of different watches that look like that, but I'm purposely not getting it because I want this to be that watch. I don't want anything that looks like it. I want that watch. So that would be kind of my other grill, and then the one that I'm actually saving for is Datejust. So Rolex Datejust reference number is 16013. Again, 1983 model is kind of what I want. I want the all stainless with the black dial, fluted bezel, of course. It's a 36 millimeters, it's a little smaller. It does come with an acrylic crystal. It's okay. Tritium lume and the 20 millimeter strap, and those
Mm.
retail what, between maybe 3,000 and 4,000. So yeah, it's a lot of money, but it's not 7 9, and it's not in the $20,000 range.
Those are some.
Um,
Those are some good watches. I wouldn't call them boring.
Yeah, a lot of
You know.
people would. I mean, to me, it's just like, so I'm going to bed last night and I'm excited about this podcast and I'm thinking to myself, this is so funny. I just kind of picked for Rolex. I picked more of a dressy piece with the Datejust, and I picked a diver with the Submariner. In my collection with the Seikos, I have the Sarb 033, which really is kind of the dressy piece. And then I have the Seiko SKX 007, which is a dive piece. I'm like, what? Then in my Bulova collection, I have two. I have the one that my father gave me, the vintage railroad approved, which is more of a dressy piece. But then I have the Precisionist, which is more of a sporty piece. So with Rolex, I kind of want to do the same. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that, you know? And then the cool thing about these two watches, maybe cool to me, is that they both feature that 20 millimeter strap. So it's like, that's so cool because my Sarb is also 20 millimeters. So I could buy a ton of different straps and play with all of them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And they've got the drilled lugs, so it's easier to
Yes, they
change
do.
them as well.
Yes, they do. I don't mind doing the other way, but yeah, that'll definitely make it a lot easier. Just sticking something in there, just changing it super quick. Um, so that's kind of my grails, and I was actually speaking to my wife. So that, for anybody out there that's married, Pete, you're married, so you
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
Fred, you're not, but when you come into a relationship or when you get married, now this is not for everybody. Everybody has different types of relationships, and like my sister, for instance, the way that she has her account set up with her husband, it's very interesting. So they have one joint account where they both put money in there for all the bills. But aside from that, my sister doesn't know how much money her husband makes and vice versa, and she has her own personal account and he has his own personal account, and they basically just save all their money individually. And if my sister wants to buy a Louis Vuitton purse, she doesn't have to ask her husband. She just gets money out of her account and buys it and does whatever. And for the longest time, when I wasn't married, I thought that was super cool because I was like, yeah, well, it makes sense. I mean, if you have the better job and you work harder, you deserve it and you should put your money aside, and your husband should do the same thing. I'm going to do the same thing when I get married. Well, I was completely wrong. When I got married, my wife, quickly before we got married, we started talking about, like, really talking about, okay, kids, how many kids, or a house, or what are our goals? You know, it's very important to talk about that. But one of the main issues was that because I had that mentality. I mean, it's my sister, right? I love my sister. I grew up with her, so it's a huge influence on me. She's older than me, so anything she did, anything she said, it kind of I wanted to be like her, right? So when I brought it up to my wife, she was like, "You are completely wrong. That's not the way that it's going to go in a relationship. Because when you're in a relationship and you come together, everything should be split, and you love each other, and you want to share everything." And it just, I was like, "Well, it has nothing to do with love," but I was wrong, and I gave in, and we kind of combined everything, and I couldn't be happier. And now I look at my sister, and I think that situation is kind of weird because it makes me think that that's very selfish. And I'm like, well, why are you splitting everything? And why it almost seems like you guys are bachelors or like boyfriend and girlfriend, and that just doesn't make sense. But the reason
Well,
I'm giving you that,
I have a good friend whose marriage is like that. Like she bought a car, and it was her car. And I'm
so
thinking like,
weird.
wait a minute, that's y'all car, you know? And he wouldn't drive it. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's like so stupid. Like, if my wife bought a car, you could best believe I'm gonna drive it. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't. It was crazy. It's still crazy though. But
It's
yeah,
weird, but you know what? It all depends on people's personality because my sister is very independent, and a lot of the times when we've met with her, right? Like hey, you guys want to go out to dinner or you want to go out to lunch or whatever? It's like, yeah, sure. So does my wife, my son, and she shows up and it's always her. Her husband is
right,
nowhere. Where's your husband? Oh, he went to the gym. Oh, he stayed
right,
at home. So they're very much like do everything apart. Like
right,
they go to the gym separately. They go to the groceries separately. I guess
right,
it's just so weird to me, and
right.
it's like
But then
so.
you can also look at it like this: like, if that's what works for them,
Of
that's
course,
what
of
works for them.
course,
You know.
of
But
course. No,
it's
a hundred
weird as
percent.
hell.
100%, and that's why they've been married for over 15, 16 years. Kudos to them,
Ooh,
especially in today's society. It's very
absolutely.
difficult to stay married. So I don't, believe me, I'm not clowning on my sister at all. I'm just saying that the whole thing with the account, it just didn't, it was my mentality, but going into it, it just didn't, that's not the way that it works, you know, and I'm happy with that. But in the same token, I do work very hard, and I feel like I'm entitled, I guess, to certain things. So when I do want a certain thing, and in this case, a watch, I can very easily just say I have the money in my account, I'm going to go and get it, but it doesn't work that way. You need kind of some kind of permission from the wife. But what I was getting to is that I was speaking to her, and I've been speaking to her about Rolex for a long time, and she always thinks it's completely overpriced, it's ridiculous, you can't spend that much money on a watch. And she understands the hobby, and she's really cool with me doing podcasts and YouTube and owning the watches that I do. But when I talk numbers and anything above $1,000, she thinks it's ridiculous, right? So when I was writing this down in the couch, and she saw me, she's like, "Oh, what are you working on?" I showed her. I showed her. She's like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't even know if I'm ever gonna get this, because of our situation. And I know we want more things in life. We want vacations. We want a better house, and this and that." And she's like, "Well, why not? You should start saving for it." And I was like, it was that really awesome moment for me that I was like, never before was she kind of cool with it, but I guess she's really starting to see how much this hobby really means to me, because just like anything else, I get into things for a little bit and I go heavy into it, and then I kind of lose interest. So maybe for her, she was thinking in the beginning that this was one of those things that, like, oh, Miguel's really into watches, and then all of a sudden he's just going to deviate from it and spend all this money and then move away from it. But now I've been in it for 3 years, and she sees that I'm taking it extremely serious because this is life changing. This is not just a pair of socks that I want. This is something different,
Yo, that's what's
So
up.
yeah, no, absolutely. So that's life changing for me because watches, just like you guys, it is part of your life. You basically tailor your outfit around your watches. You think about occasions. Well, what watch am I going to wear? Oh, can I wear this one because maybe the weather's going to be bad and this one's not water resistant? Like, as watch people, we think of things like this. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but anyway, so as far as how to obtain the pieces, like in my perspective, my financial perspective, this is what I'm thinking. So first of all, think about tailoring your budget. So manage how you spend, save, and splurge within your means. So always stay within your means because that's very, very important. You could go out there and buy a super expensive watch and be in debt and then not save towards your future, towards your retirement. And you just need to be able to manage it. And of course, you need to be able to save for this. So just like Fred said, never buy on credit because that is the
Mm-mm.
dumbest thing you can do unless you can afford it. So if you're going to buy it on credit, knowing that you have a year 0% APR, and you can hit that mark right within that year, not getting penalized for that, then do it. And I will probably do the same thing if I have the money in my account and I know that money is allocated towards this piece. I wouldn't hesitate to put it on credit because A, it's building up my credit, and B, maybe the cash flow situation could be a little bit better and just kind of putting, even though I have the money for it, you could just do it on a monthly basis because you never know. God forbid some emergency comes up, you could always grab from there. But that's why I kind of don't like credit, but I'll probably do credit because I think I'm pretty confident in that. But as far as saving, yeah, you need to save every penny. And me personally, I save any birthday money, any holiday money, any little gift that anybody's willing to give me cash for rather than an object. I like to take that cash and kind of put it away. But if your current situation doesn't allow for any luxury items, then you need to change that current situation. You need to change that mindset. And there's many ways of doing that. Of course, you could start a little side hustle, wash cars, you can mow lawns. Prostitution's always on the table. So what I'm saying, but no, seriously, side hustle is always the way to go because if your current situation doesn't allow for that, you want to be a multiplier, right? And also something that I started doing, I started cleaning out my closet. So any old books, any watches that didn't really speak to me, or any little thing that I could find or get my hands on, I started selling things on eBay and I started saving that money. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as that. But one thing that I've learned as far as investing, not just in watches, but in my house and in different things that I'm doing, my mindset's always been on residual income. Residual income is very important because when you have residual income, then you don't feel like it's coming out of your own pocket. It's almost like play money, right? So if you could set something, some kind of business or some kind of whatever it is into motion, then whenever that money comes in, that's the residual income, and then you save that. That sounds easier said than done because I'm not in that situation. well, kind of. I do own a little business and I've had it for a while and I haven't really nurtured it as much as I would like to. But a lot of that money that came in was actually residual income. And thanks to that, we were actually able to buy a big portion of our Lexus truck. So it wasn't really out of pocket. It was from that because I set it in that way, you know? So I do have a lot of future goals. And I'm kind of proud of myself of how I set up my life just because I've learned about finance. Which I'll talk about. The schooling system here in the U.S. is terrible, but that's kind of what I have to say about that. And another thing that's bound to happen, and I know this 100%, is a recession, at least here in the U.S. So think about it. When a recession hits, the first thing to go is the luxury items, right? In any luxury space. So what you want to do is keep saving, keep saving. You know when that thing is bound to happen, that recession, people are going to put their things for sale because it's either A, you get money to put food on your table and put that roof over your head, or do you have this Rolex in your collection? So that's where we come in strong. And that's kind of what happened with the housing market in the early 2000s. A lot of these investors, it seemed very unfair, but it really wasn't, because they were smart enough to save and have those kind of assets in their bank or whatever. And they bought up all these homes, right? So now they're multimillionaires. A lot of them, a lot of multimillionaires came out of the recession. So I kind of want to do the same thing, you know, in the perspective of watches. I want to save, but but I want to buy in the right time, you know, and it's bound to happen. A recession is bound to happen. So when, I don't know, but I know it's coming. So that's my take. Sorry, guys.
All right.
Yeah, well, that's a cool thing. And one thing I just want to build on, like, because you had mentioned saving, I didn't mention it as much, but in terms of cutting out unnecessary expenses, also just even little stuff, you know, stuff like if you like go out to coffee every weekend or buy coffee every day, it's like, you know, buy a coffee maker at home.
Yeah.
You'll save yourself that markups that Starbucks will have if you make
Absolutely.
your own coffee. And that stuff adds up because it's what you do every day. Or like, you know, I don't know, if you have to like take an Uber or something like that, or a cab, take a bus or walk a few blocks to sort of bring that amount down. And that all adds up, you know, like I've always like, because I follow Formula One, and there they have this thing called gram strategy, where it's like if you shave, you know, a few grams here, a few grams there, it'll save 0.2 of a second on your lap time. But over, you know, 50 or 60 laps, that could be the difference between first and second place. Yeah. So like I take the same approach to when it comes to saving money. If you cut out even the little stuff, or, you know, be smart if you notice there's patterns that like your supermarket puts fruit on sale on Tuesdays or something like that. Paying attention to that stuff adds up over time, and that helps not only in saving money to buy fun stuff, but also, like you said, you know, when times are tight, if your lifestyle already has a way of costing you less, then it means that, you know, you're better prepared. It means when you take an economic hit, it won't hit you as hard because you're already kind of spending just enough what you need to spend. So that's definitely something that contributes a lot in terms of sort of organizing to make sure you have money to buy fun stuff like that.
But
yeah, I also think like for me personally, like the coffee thing speaks right to me, because I was a guy that went to Starbucks every day. You know what I'm saying? Frappuccinos and this and that. But now I've actually just started buying coffee from the grocery store, doing it like that. But also eating out, like, was a thing every day. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But not only that, now, you know what I'm saying, we may eat out like once a week, but for the most part, you know what I'm saying, we eat at home, and I bring food from home to work. You know what I mean? And not only that, it's healthier.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
So, yeah, of course. Like, there's so many more benefits to it, but little lifestyle changes like that make a big difference.
Here's the big problem, though, and I think you guys could agree with this, is self-control. Because as a watch person, and it's unfortunate, but it's almost like an addiction, right? So just like with anything else, you need to have that self-control. And just like Fred said, are you going to wait for your grill piece, or are you going to buy something along the way just to kind of scratch that itch? And that's happened to all of us, right? I mean, we're saving, and then we're like, oh crap, I just can't. So you buy something in between, but then you regret it because you're like, oh, did I just really do that? Like, yeah, I kind of scratched the itch, but this is not what I wanted.
You know what's weird though? Since I got the Omega from the 60s,
yeah,
and then I got the Hamilton, the vintage Hamilton, I've been good. Like I haven't been craving for anything. So now I'm at the point to where okay, I can really save for something. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
interesting.
you know,
Yeah.
like now I'm like at the point like I don't have to make that impulse buy. You know what I mean? So
Well,
like I'm good.
I'll give you an example. So for me, I had, what was it, like $1,400 saved. This is about less than a year ago. $1,400 saved. Took a long time to get there. I mean, I sold like three watches in my collection, birthday money. It was tough to be able to save that much money, because along the way I would see things pop up and I was like, oh, I want that. Oh, I want that. So it was really hard. But anyways, what I was saving for was an Omega Speedmaster Professional. So I know I needed between, I don't know, like $2,500. I think is kind of what you could find them on the pre-owned market or something like that. Less than $3,000, right? So I had the money, and I was like, I don't know if I could wait. So I started looking into the reduce, and that's how I ended up picking up my automatic. Now, I like this watch, but it's not the professional. So I'm learning to love this watch, and just the charm of it, and it's just so different because it's not the professional, and it is different, and it has the tritium, and there's just so many attributes that really make me like this watch. But at the same token, I'm like, should I sell this watch and really get the professional, because that's what I really wanted to begin with, you know? So I'm kind of torn, but just like you, Pete, for whatever reason, when I got that last watch, which was the Q Timex, which by the way is still for sale, nobody's picked it up, but I bought into that hype, and as soon as I got it, I never wore it, and it just kind of, it made me realize, I'm like, what the hell am I buying watches for? Like, am I just buying it just because I'm an addict and I just want to get something in the mail and just open it up and put it on, and then that's wrong, you know? So yeah, for me personally, I think I'm definitely changing, and I'm able to save a little bit more. And I'm saying that now. Maybe in the next episode, I would have bought something. But what about you, Fred? Are you good with waiting and saving and waiting 2 years to get the next watch? 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, like I've always liked stuff that's probably more expensive than I should. So like I've like in general I've been used to sort of saving up to get nice stuff. But the same token, like I'm human too. I make mistakes, and also I did have a little itch scratching incident when I bought my Tudor Black
Mm-hmm.
Bay. I got a Black Bay Chrono when I really wanted a Speedmaster 57, which was like double the cost. So I thought, all right, the Black Bay Chrono, it still has that sort of vintagey look. It'll probably hold its value because it's a Tudor. And, I can wear that until I can save the rest and then sell it and then buy the watch I actually want. But in the end, what happened was I realized that the Tudor was a bit too thick. I didn't really use the chronograph because of the screw down pushers. But more than anything, I never really fell in love with it because I got it with the intention of selling it. So it's like, with that, it's like, not only did I buy something that wasn't what I really, really wanted, but also I sort of denied myself the ability to fall in love with that watch because it was like, I didn't want to get emotionally invested in something that wasn't going to last, for lack of a better way to put it.
Right.
So that like sort of showed me that, it's important sometimes to resist that urge, even if you can buy it, you can afford it and all that. Because if you want something more, then chances are it might not be the best experience. That being said, it's still a great watch, and I learned a lot from the experience. And even, like, for example, with the thickness, I learned, okay, well, I probably don't want a watch that's that thick, and the 57 is even thicker. So now I've sort of changed my changed my goal of what I want. But it showed me, that sometimes you got to hold back a little bit and hold out for the end game. And that's why I said before that now my philosophy is more like, all right, every watch I buy needs to be a grail piece. It needs to be a watch that I want to keep, I want to enjoy, just so I can sort of keep that focus and know that when I get it, it's going to be so worth the wait,
Yeah. By the way, that video was awesome. So anybody listening, go
Oh,
to his
thank you.
channel, check it out. That was really cool. It really spoke to me, and I was like, oh, I could tell that Fred like really felt that, not only emotionally but in his pocket, because that almost felt like a mistake.
Yeah, I lost about $1,000 on
Yeah.
that, but that's, you live and learn. Thankfully, going back to what I said before, at least it was $1,000 that I had to lose. Like at the end of the day, the way I look at it, when you buy a watch, that's a sunk cost. It's not an investment. So you should only buy it if you're willing to lose that money. It's like when you gamble. It's like, don't go in betting your life savings. Bet what you can afford to
Right.
lose. That way, if you lose it, it doesn't hurt you. But if you win, it feels great.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we're going up on an hour here. So let's wrap it up. We're typically we have something, Fred, that we just started doing. By the way, shout out to our friends over at 40 and 20 podcast.
Yeah.
They do this in their show, and I completely forgot to kind of give them props and kudos for us implementing the other things in our podcast. So I don't want them to think, or anybody to think, that this is original to us by any kind of stretch of the imagination. So it's not that at all. But yeah, what we do here on the show, Fred, we talk about other things aside from watches, anything you want to recommend to the people, any movie you watch, any food, anything, you know. So what, you got anything interesting you want to share with us?
Oh, off the top of my head, what is another thing? Because I look at watches way too much.
You're like, that is the only thing.
That's the main. All right. Actually, I was, because I'm into cars as well, and I was watching this video from Doug DeMuro. Is a really popular
Yes.
YouTuber for cars,
Mm-hmm.
and it was featuring the R129 SL500. So it's now 2 generations ago. It's like the one that still looks really boxy, 90s. It was one that was in the music video for Rollout by Ludacris.
Yeah.
And just looking at that, it made me think like, wow, you know, Mercedes used to be so like effortlessly cool. You know, they just had that presence. Now I feel like they've gotten sort of really sort of like just really rounded and just too golf clubby. You know, like just looking at that, like the presence that car had, and all the cars from that era, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
the same with the S600s. They were all just so cool and just had that commanding presence. Like, you know, it could be anyone from a president to a mob boss to a celebrity driving that car, and it just had that presence. And you don't see that in modern cars anymore. So it was really cool seeing that. So definitely I recommend anyone who's into cars, into sort of older Mercedes, definitely check out that video on the SL500, because it really shows you like what Mercedes used to be, and also like just the effortless quality on everything there. It's fucking sick. You know, a time
Nice.
when it was just make the best car you can make.
That's cool.
Cool.
Pete?
I got a couple things. I actually changed the brakes on my 2013 Phantom.
What?
Rolls-Royce Phantom. No, I'm playing. No, I changed.
I'm like, what?
I changed the brakes. It's Chrysler 200, but you know, I changed the brakes on my Chrysler 200. You know what I'm saying? I ain't changed brakes in a long time, but for what they were willing to try to get out of me to do the job, I said I could do the job myself. You know what I mean? So I done it. Excellent work that I did, I think. And I'm a big hip hop fan, so I listen to. I don't know if y'all familiar with Gangstar.
Oh yeah,
New York rap group. Rest in peace, Guru. They had a new album come out this week, and it's dope. And you know, I'm just thinking like hearing Guru's voice, you know, after him passing is like so refreshing, but it's also kind of sad. You know what I mean? Like knowing that he's gone, but it was a return for me to like some real hip hop shit. So.
was it unreleased tracks, or was it just like old verses just put on newer beats?
Nah, it was unreleased tracks.
Oh,
Unreleased
nice.
tracks and verses.
That's cool.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
I was really surprised. You know, so.
Oh wow, I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, for me, I've been, like I said in my previous podcast, we've been getting into movies a lot. We used to be big movie people, and then we had our son, and kind of he just basically he took all the time away from us, in a good sense of the word. So, but we've been getting back into movies because he started school, so he's on a sleeping schedule now. So we know what time he's going to go to sleep, what time he's going to wake up. So we've been renting movies, and I think Everett from 40 and 20 in one of his episodes in his podcast, he recommended the movie Yesterday. So it's about this guy, basically, that he gets into this accident, and he wakes up, and everything pretty much is the same in his life and society, whatever in the world, but nobody remembers the Beatles. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. So he was this kind of like wannabe star with his cheesy music, and he just went nowhere. He was basically quitting music. He's like, I've tried for 10 years. It's going nowhere. I'm done, right? So he wakes up, and he's and his friends are taking him out to lunch or whatever, and they're like, they gift him a guitar because it's got messed up in the wreck or whatever. And they're like, play us something, you know, this is a new guitar, play us something. So he starts singing Yesterday, and they're all kind of mesmerized. He's like, yeah. So, and they're like, that's beautiful. When did you write that? And they're like, what do you mean? When did I write that? That's not my song. That's the Beatles. And they're like, the Beatles? What are you talking about? So he starts doing his research. He goes on Google. So I mean, the whole movie was pretty interesting, and I think the ending was very humbling because you're like, oh man, this guy could have gone. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it's like he could have gone this way, but he went this other way, and really just teaches how society needs to live. So I'll leave it at that. It was a little slow for me. The wife liked it. To me, it was okay, but. Here's the great news. We got a babysitter today, so we're gonna go check out the Joker later on. So I am super excited
nice.
for that.
Okay, cool.
That's a good movie.
You saw it, Fred? I know P saw it.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's very, very good.
Okay, so I'm gonna go watch that later.
Do you think is one of the it's like origin stories generally are boring, but I thought that Joker was a great origin story. You know what I mean? What did you think?
I think that was good, especially in the ambiguity that. As like read the comics, but like one of the things with the Joker is like he said at one point, he's like, I always like my life to have. If my life was like a test, I would want it to be multiple choice or something like that. Like he's always
cool.
He's always like saying different origins for him, and like even in like the Dark Knight, like you remember how like he kept saying, do you know how I got these scars, and he had a different story for each time he said it.
Right.
So I like the ambiguity that the movie gave you, because a lot of times you can't really tell what's actually happening. Is he just hallucinating or delusional, or is it actually happening? And I like how they kept that ambiguity, because it just opens up so many options, and it pays homage to that notion that like it's still a mystery. They made an entire movie about it, and still kind of you're not 100% sure on what his origin is.
Right.
Man, I don't know if I'm gonna like that. Then I'm the type of person that I like to know everything. Like in one of the last podcasts, I talked about Us, the movie Us, and it was about this and that or whatever. But the end, there was a lot of loose ends, and I'm like, they didn't explain it, and that makes me feel really uncomfortable because I'm like, I need to know what the hell. So I hope this movie doesn't become one of those things where I'm like, that's an awesome movie, but there's just so many unanswered questions that I want to know. So I don't know.
No, I think you'll like Joker.
Well, we'll talk about it in the next podcast. I'll let you guys know how it went. But that's it for me. I think we covered a lot of things. We're on almost 70 minutes right here. So any closing thoughts from any of you two?
Keep it fresh. Keep it dope.
Keep on ticking.
Oh, God.
It's been a long time. I was watching some of my old videos when I was doing that Twitter video, because like I referenced back to like the original review I did of it. And I was like, I used to have so many forced watch puns in those when I was still sort of finding my step. So I think I still just had that in my head. I'm like, all right, let's try out one of these ones. One of the gems that didn't make it.
Keep on ticking. I got to give a shout out also to Fernando from what's the name of his English channel? I think Collecting Vintage Watches. I'm sorry if I'm butchering this, but he has a Spanish channel as well that he does. Fred, do you know the name of it?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of his videos, and especially like because I got a Spanish channel as well, and sort of look at that as reference of like, all right, am I using the right words and all that?
Yeah, no, for sure. So the English channel he has is called Collecting Vintage Watches. He actually has 9,000 subscribers on that. So kudos to my friend over there. But yesterday in his Spanish channel, he actually had a live chat, and I jumped in, did some things, and he actually stopped the video. He told his wife, he's like, no, go back to SoCal Watch Reviews. He's like, Miguel, thank you so much for your support. Everybody here, he had like a ton of people. He has like over 30,000 subscribers. He's like, everybody here in the live chat, go check him out. He has some great videos, some great content. This YouTube space is really difficult, and he does his homework and this and that. So thanks to that, I got like 2 or 3 subscribers last night, Hispanic guys. But again, people from his channel went to my English channel. So I'm like, no, I also have a Spanish channel, which a lot of people don't know. But I don't put a lot of content there. But special thanks to Fernando. He's awesome, and his name of his Spanish channel is Todo Reloj con Fernando. So that's the Spanish one, and then the English one was Collecting Vintage Watches. So yeah, on the Spanish one he has 32,000 subscribers. On his English one he has 9,000 subscribers. So Thank you, my friend, if you're listening. Yeah, awesome that a lot of the YouTube community helps each other out. So that's, I mean, you two know. I mean, you two have YouTube channels, so it's not easy.
Yeah,
It's a difficult space to be in, especially in this whole niche watch thing, you know. So
absolutely.
Yeah, and especially as you're starting, it's difficult sort of getting off the ground and pushing forward. But at the end of the day, it's the people who keep pushing and who keep improving and staying consistent. I think those are the ones that end up succeeding. At least I hope so. Otherwise, I don't know why I'm pushing in, pushing and
well, you're almost at
developing.
1,000
But
subscribers, so that's cool.
yeah, I hit 650
Nice.
today. So like it's even that just feels crazy considering I remember I used to celebrate 65.
Yeah.
Like crossing 50 was like,
Well,
nice.
you know, I was really thinking about this, and last night when he said that, I ran to my wife. I'm like, "Oh, look! I paused it." And she's like, she had a smile on her face, and she's like, "That's cool." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, it is cool because I know a lot of people. Success is different. It means different things to different people, right? But for me, success is like not 1,000 subscribers or more. I mean, that'd be awesome, but really having your peers, such as you guys, and him and Fernando and other people that have reached out to me and say, "Hey, good job. I like what you're doing." That's awesome because you guys know what it's like to put a video together, not some person just kind of listening and not putting out content because to them it might seem like super easy to do this, and it's not. There's a lot of research that goes into this. It's a lot of time away from your family or from other things. So it's cool to get the kudos from other people. You know, for me, that's a goal that I hit and I would continue to hit, hopefully, you know.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, Fred, you have an amazing channel.
Yeah.
Same to you, P, and let's
Yes,
keep
sir.
doing what we're doing. And where can the people find you, Fred?
They can find me on Instagram at Shah Lusso, Facebook /Shah Lusso, and of course YouTube /Shah Lusso as well. For the Facebook, I'm not that active, but Instagram, you get all the pictures from my videos, all the diagrams and like infographics and all that. And then of course YouTube in English and in Spanish every 7 to 10 days, depending on how busy my week is.
Awesome. And anybody that enjoys a little chest hair, my friend Fred there unbuttons just the right number of buttons on his shirt to just bam, it just pops out.
Just so you can see my bare
just so
chest.
you can see it, you know. P.
Oh wow. Ross Wristwatch Love, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Hit me up. Hit all of us up. Support the movement. Get into it. Get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could find me SoCal Watch Reviews on YouTube and Relojeando if you are listening to this and you speak Spanish or have anybody that's non-English speaking and they speak Spanish and they wanna see a few videos. I'll probably put out more. It's only a few, but yeah, there's some information there. And also SoCal Watch Reviews on Instagram, and I do post a lot of pictures there. I started the Instagram with other people's images and kind of just giving them credit, but I quickly realized that I wanted to really personalize my Instagram. So now every watch that I post on there is my own. Yes, it's repetitive because I don't have many in my collection, but I try to take shots from different angles and different backgrounds and stuff like that. So yeah, and then I announce, whenever a new podcast comes out or whatever. So we are over 400 followers on Instagram, so that's cool. So let's keep it growing, and yeah. So thank you guys for taking the time, Fred, P. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
My pleasure.
So yeah, as always, my friends, stay humble.